Hello, Audioholics. This is Tyler with me with my friend Logan.
What's up? How you doing, Tyler?
I'm pretty good, Logan.
Oh God, how can you stand people calling you that every day? That's terrible.
Yeah, Tyler's just a terrible name. I don't know why
Tyler's a great
anybody.
game.
You know what? My mom was
Wow.
smoking when he came up with that. When she came up with that name.
I will have you know, Tyler's means tile layer, a layer of tiles. That is profound, man.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm Logan, and this
Occupation.
is Tyler.
What's up?
And welcome to Audioholics Unite, the podcast where most likely we're going to be listening to music unless there's something else we're going to be doing.
Maybe one day we'll listen to a Donald Trump press conference. That's something you could.
I mean, to be fair, that is audio.
Yeah. I mean, it's audio.
I mean,
I don't
probably
know.
less discernible than the moon landing, but I mean,
Less holic.
yeah, less well, I mean,
Less holy in general.
well, I mean, generally,
Donald Trump
though,
is the Antichrist.
I mean, generally speaking, though, I mean, you could probably become an alcoholic. But,
seriously though, there was like a
that.
menu item in a pizza shop the other day that was $6.66, and this is proof that the Illuminati runs that pizza shop.
Oh, is that the one where is that the one where John Soros and Hillary Clinton had like that pedophile sex ring?
Maybe.
Oh, see,
Never
that
know.
all makes sense.
You never know. The Jesuits are up to it again.
God damn Jesuits.
All right, so we are going to listen to The Way of All Flesh by Gojira.
Ogira? Joe Gira?
Gojira.
Oh, Dira!
Owira.
Ooh,
No,
Wira.
this is a very anti-melody album, and it's not melodic at all. It's very heavy, and there's not a single ballad to be found. It is just straight up drilling into your skull the entire hour that it goes on. It does not let up.
So before we begin this album, I would like to just say something. This was Tyler's idea.
Mine.
So my reason for saying that is this is an album that I don't think is going to necessarily be my thing. I'm going to keep an open mind. I'll try to keep an open mind to it. I'm not really into, like, what's the technical term? Like, extreme
More
metal?
of the extreme genres, yeah.
Yeah. So that's not really my thing. I'm not, like, a huge fan of, well, Slipknot. I mentioned them earlier. I will say, though, that I saw both of those bands live at Knotfest. I went with him.
Yeah, that was good.
I mean, Gojira, they put on a really good live show.
Oh, yeah. Gojira's great live.
I think Volbeat was there as well. I actually like Volbeat.
I think they were the worst, though.
Yeah, they were the worst live. But like,
out of the bunch.
Out of the bunch, but like, it's interesting though, because like, out of like the people in the studio, I think they're the best. But like, it's just like, honestly, I think they just felt out of place. Like, you have super extreme bands like Gojira and Slipknot, and like, what's this like WWE rock doing in there?
WWE rock. That's a good way to put it.
I mean, like, yeah, like, didn't they have like, what is that one song?
Warrior Call,
it was like one of,
or something like that.
War Call, something like that.
Warrior's Call, I think it's
Warrior's Call. Okay.
I think
like it's like one of their biggest songs. So I mean, like,
I used to love Volbeat, but I don't listen to them much anymore. They're not really my thing anymore.
Sometimes, like, when you see a band live and they aren't good live, it kind of ruins them.
Yeah, A Warrior's Call is the name of it.
Yeah. It sometimes just, like, ruins them in the studio. Like, that happened with me in Deep Purple, because we both saw Judas Priest and Deep Purple. And Judas Priest rocked the house down. They had like these like projectors in the back, and there was like the flashing lights.
They brought out a fucking motorcycle.
Yeah, and like Rob Halford was He's like in his like late 70s, mid to late 70s. He was rocking just as hard as he did back in the 80s and
It was
90s.
impressive.
Yeah, it was really impressive. And then we saw Deep Purple, and it was like they all aged like milk, especially Ian Gillan.
Oh God, I've never been a fan of Ian Gillan, but damn, he was bad.
I love look, I'm not the biggest fan of Deep Purple. I like them. I like certain albums, like Machine Head, Rock. The one they released in the '80s was pretty good. Who Do We Think We Are? That was like I like some of the popular albums by Deep Purple, but like one put it this way, Deep Purple for me is a band that I can listen to the hits from and like maybe go a little bit out of that and you'll have a good band, but they aren't a band, in my opinion, where it's really worth to like cut to the deep tracks. Because the deep tracks, it's one of the rare exceptions, I think, where the deep tracks are deep for a reason.
Yeah, Deep Purple for me has never been a band that I've enjoyed. I love Richie Blackmore as a guitarist. He's great, but he's better in Rainbow. He doesn't shine as much in Deep Purple, and I hate Ian Gillan as a vocalist. The rest of the band's forgettable for me, and even the hits, I've never been big on, at least with Deep Purple. So they're just not for me. I'm not saying they're not talented. I'm not saying they aren't classic. They're just not for me.
Coming from somebody who doesn't even know how to play Smoke on the Water on guitar. Anyway, Gojira.
So let me talk a little bit about how I got into Gojira. So I was a big Slipknot fan as a kid, and that was about as far as I went into more extreme genres. And I didn't even really like screaming. Slipknot was just an example or an exception. But after growing up a bit and listening to more music, I decided to branch out and try and get into some more extreme genres, such as death metal, grindcore, stuff like that. And it's still not entirely my thing, but Gojira was one of the first names that popped up. Everybody was like, hey, you like Slipknot? Check out Gojira, because Slipknot's like Babby's first extreme metal band compared to Gojira, which is, the real thing. That's what everyone said. So, and they recommended me this album, which I'll tell you right now was a mistake, because this album is not Babby's first extreme metal album. And honestly, I'm not even sure I would call this really an extreme metal album, but it does have screaming for vocals. It is heavy, so I would maybe throw someone in the direction of Lamb of God. That is a really good band to go from after Slipknot. But Gojira's not, especially not this album. You could go to Magma maybe, or From Mars to Sirius, but I would not go to this album. And the basic reason for that, this album feels like somebody is repeatedly slamming your face into a table that has spikes on it. It is just a barrage of sound and instruments, and it's just a lot to take in going from Slipknot to this album. So it put me off of the band for a long time. Now, we were talking about seeing them live. I actually saw them live before we went and saw them at Sonic Temple. Because
no,
he and
not
I
Fest. Not Fest.
Actually, not Fest was after Sonic Temple.
Well, yeah, but we didn't see them at Sonic Temple, I don't think, did we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, they were at Sonic Temple. They were the band that had the guitarist who got his face, scorched in flames.
Oh, yeah. So, in that case, I've seen them twice as well.
Yeah, but I've seen them 3 times. And the first time
I've seen them 4 times. No, I'm kidding.
The first time I saw them was when I started getting into them, because I couldn't get into them in the studio, but then I saw them live, and I was like, holy fuck, what is this? And then I went and listened to Magma, and I got into Stranded and Silvera, and then I went back and listened to From Mars to Sirius, and I was still not really a fan. And then we saw them at Sonic Temple, and then Not Fest, and now I love them. They're one of my favorite bands. So the entire moral of the story is that this band is hard as hell to get into. But I think it's actually worth it, because Gojira is one of the most unique sounding bands not only of this time period, but of all time. I can't name a single other band that has ever played live that sounds anything like Gojira. Anything. And
All
you know,
right.
it's not just how unique they are, but their influence is astounding considering they've only been around for like 15 to 20 years. There's already people, professional guitarists, who have been around for about the same length of time saying that they've been inspired by Gojira. A great example being Mark Tremonti from Alter Bridge, who has said, "Oh, I was inspired by Gojira in our new record." I think within the next 10 to 20 years, Gojira is going to prove to be one of the most influential metal bands of our time, which is the reason I wanted to cover them today on the show. Okay, without further ado, do you want to go ahead and get started with the album?
Yes, and before we do, I would just like to point out that there will be a link to the album on YouTube. There will be a link to the album in the description below or above or sideways or wherever YouTube decides to put it next. Right. So this will be a countdown. Pause the video, cue the album up. I will count down from 5, and I will be listening to the album, or we will both be listening to the album.
Yeah, of course.
Rather. So I will count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It really wastes no time just getting right into it. You've immediately got some like crazy Eddie Van Halen tapping going on.
Yeah, this already sounds pretty good.
So one thing you'll notice is I'm going to talk a lot more about the lyrics on this episode because the lyrics are a big thing with Gojira. And this song is Ouroboros.
Yeah.
Now this album it's not exactly a concept album. It's a loose concept album on death. Just death itself and everything that involves it.
Also, if the lighting changes or anything, I'm looking at the lyrics as well on my computer.
Now, this is oddly one of the only songs on the album I really don't know what it's about. There's a lot of just imagery in this song. From what I understand, it's about how the soul is in a state of like endless recuperation. Or something along those lines. I couldn't tell you. But it's a really good opener. Because it's not like balls to the wall heavy yet. It starts mellow. And it builds up.
Very good guitar.
Oh, yeah. Gojira is one of the most technical bands I've ever listened to. I actually sent Logan a screenshot of some tabs from a Gojira song the other day, and he's like, well, I don't know what the fuck that means, but it looks like the most complicated tic-tac-toe game of all time.
I'm trying to read along to lyrics, but, like, it's obviously, like, kind of difficult to concentrate on multiple things.
Yeah, of course.
I'm just turning up the music a little bit louder on my headphones.
All right. One thing I will tell everyone to pay attention to is how fucking great the mixing is on this record.
Yeah, I agree. This is mixed a lot better than some of these extreme metal bands I've heard before.
It's amazing. You can hear, like, harmonies, like, right now. Just the soundscape. You can hear everything. You can hear the bass, the guitar, the drums. It's really well mixed.
Yeah, like, I would not say this is, like, an assault on the eardrums like you described so far. It's not in the same vein as, like, Slipknot quite yet.
Yeah.
Like, I assume it builds up to something.
This song does, yes.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I think it's a really good opener, because it starts really mellow and it builds and builds and builds. And the next song is one of my favorite songs on the album, Toxic Garbage Island, which is going to be the first one where we really talk about the lyrics.
Good guitar. Again, yeah, like you said, really good mixing.
Fun fact about the vocals in Gojira. If you were to just tell him to sing this song like right now, you wouldn't hear him. His voice is like almost inaudible. What they actually do is they make the mic boost the volume so you can actually, hear him.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some kind of vocal effect on his voice.
There is in like almost every Gojira album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty typical of bands like this, I think.
Yeah, but you can see what I mean immediately, right? Like, there's no band on the planet that sounds like this, and you haven't even scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Now the album really starts.
Toxic Garbage Island. All right, nice intro.
This is technically the end of Ouroboros.
Oh, it is. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right, it is.
Gives you a very, very brief little respite, and then you'll see. I'm not going to talk during this. I want you to focus, and everyone else to focus.
It sounds like someone trying to start a chainsaw.
Yeah, it's nuts. And now listen to this riff. I love that build-up. It's fucking awesome.
Nice kick drum.
Okay, so this is probably a good moment to talk about what this song is about. So I mentioned this to Logan before the podcast, but for those of you who don't know, one of the biggest things about Gojira is that they are environmental activists. They are very huge into protecting the environment. In fact, if you look at the album cover of From Mars to Sirius, it is pretty much a direct replica of one of the leading organizations in environmental health. So this song is about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which is basically a gigantic fucking collection of plastic waste that's floating around the Pacific, and it's supposedly the size of Texas. That's fucking insane.
Probably bigger now, because, this album's 12 years old.
Yeah. But if you ever see pictures of this, it's just insane. It's actually less abrasive on this album than it is on most of their albums. That is the environmental activism, but it's still very there. There's multiple songs. And I think that's... Oh, yeah. I think that's one of the things that I really think is important about this band. Not only are they going to be extremely influential in the genre, but the fact that they are so in support of regulations on the environment and helping stop the climate change. And I think that's going to be very important going forward. We were talking about this the other day. You like Biden because he's more environmentally focused, right?
Well, I mean, I don't particularly want to get into politics too much. I mean, but
it is current events.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, but current events.
Well, I prefer Biden over Trump for that reason.
Right. I think going forward, the environment's going to be a huge factor in every election, not just this one, mind you.
Oh, of course it will be. It has been for several elections. Uh,
I
ever
don't know.
since, well, people, ever since like the 50s, 60s, ever since we started kind of really starting to see, like, climate change, global warming get in the zeitgeist.
I think part of the problem is people they don't realize how bad it is.
Yeah, exactly. Again, really good guitar. What was the
I
song you
love this
sent me?
outro. This is it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that all makes sense.
This is a fan favorite of
Yeah.
Gojira's. This is one of my favorite songs on the album. It's called A Sight to Behold. And it's once again about the environment, but more so the animal aspect of it.
Yeah.
A big theme on this album is just that humanity has absolutely no empathy for anything, not even itself. And that's resulting in the destruction of us, our planet, everything that lives on it.
Whoa. This sounds like a Tim Burton fever dream.
Yeah, I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is a synth or what, but
Yeah, it sounds pretty industrial, kind of like in the same vein as like Zombie, but like heavier, obviously.
I love this little like tapping riff though that comes
Yeah.
after it because it mimics the synth riff that they play during the verses. I think that's really pleasing to the ears.
Yeah, this is my favorite song so far.
But anyway, what were we saying? Right. People they don't understand how bad it's gotten. Like, if you surveyed a random amount of people and asked them, do you know about this Texas-sized island of trash and garbage that's floating in the Pacific? You think maybe 1 out of 10 would know about it? If that?
Oh, probably not even. I didn't even know about it until just a few minutes ago.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons I love this band. It's not just that they're amazing in the studio, that they make amazing music. They have a message, and I think that's important.
Like, I've heard of like garbage islands and things like that. I didn't know about that specific one though.
Yeah.
Actually, well, I don't know if there are other garbage islands. I'm sure there are.
Yeah, I would
Sure
assume so.
Huh?
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah. This is my favorite song on the album so far. I mean, granted, we are only 3 tracks in, but this is almost like this almost seems like the extreme metal version of a ballad, which again sounds like a Tim Burton fever dream.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of the softer songs on the album. Oh, and by the way, we were talking about Lamb of God earlier. Fun fact, Randy Blythe, the vocalist of Lamb of God, features on one of the songs on the latter half of the album.
Cool.
I'd
Wait,
say
you sure it wasn't Lamb of God we saw at Sonic Temple?
We did see them too, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We saw both of them. And actually, Randy Blythe came out to perform that song I just talked about live at Sonic Temple, which was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Because that's rare.
Yeah, lyrically, sonically, this is the best song on the album. This is like actually probably the best extreme metal song I've heard so far.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's one of my favorites.
Is this extreme enough to really be extreme metal, this particular song?
I don't know.
I mean, the vocals are, but like the actual song, like if it were maybe mixed a bit differently, it could be anything.
You know, I find it funny. There are people who have arguments about whether or not Gojira even uses extreme metal vocals.
I mean, I don't know enough to really add to that debate.
Yeah, but I think it's funny that Gojira is unique to the point where even their screams are debated on whether or not they're extreme enough.
They're
It's insane to
Gojira
me.
metal. Let's just add another genre.
Gojira core.
Gojira core, exactly. Or you know what? It's like video games. They're Metro, like, you know how we have like Souls like, Rogue like. This genre is Gojira like. Or like Doom clones. Like, instead of Doom clones, it's a Gojira clone. If a band comes out that sounds like Gojira.
Fuck yeah. We'll call it the Gojira engine.
The Gojira engine.
And one thing I also love about all the songs on this album, they never overstay their welcome. They go by like that. Like, this song's already over.
Yeah, like the songs are pretty short. That's kind of like a trait from like a lot of punk bands.
You know, and that's what I was saying the other day. This band reminds me a lot of traditional punk bands, just without the traditional punk sound.
Yeah. So this song is Yama's Messengers.
This is one of, I wouldn't say it's a bad song, but it's one of the less good ones on the album, in my opinion. One of the ones that feel more, you know, more of a filler track, but this is the first, which is more of a story. I was saying, I don't think I was saying during the podcast, but before the podcast, I was telling Logan something Gojira likes to do a lot is tell stories within their songs. Well, this one is about a serial killer who has just died, and now he is facing the judge of the underworld. And he's being judged by the actions that he took when he was living.
That is a tasty riff right there. I have to hold on to my headphones because I'm headbanging.
See, you're getting it. You're getting into it. You're a squire.
Yeah.
Mike the Music Snob Squire.
Squaw.
Any fellow Mike the Music Snob fans? Rock on.
Any fellow fans of this? Like, of this channel?
No, probably not. We got 3 whole comments on our last video. Did
Yeah,
you see
I
that?
don't know how legit those are, because those came out, like, right after our video.
Immediately, yeah.
Like, I'm not...
The one guy was trying to do a
if
sub for
those
sub.
3 people are watching, you know...
We love you.
I'm glad for the support, but, like, something about that seems kind of suspicious. Like, no offense. Like, we just started this channel, like, a week ago, and 3 unique people just saying, like, I love your video. Like, right as it's uploaded seems kind of, I don't know. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but if they are real, you know, thank you for the support.
By the way, I'm still editing my Nightwish review. It's taking a long-ass time.
Lazy.
It's 15 minutes, and I have to, like, timeline everything. You know how many fucking tangents I go on in that video? Not as much as in this podcast.
All of them. You go on all the tangents.
Half of my personality is tangential.
Are you sure it's not bipolar?
No, that's my girlfriend.
Oh, that's not...
Ooh.
That's morbidly obese right there.
Like yours. Oh!
Shut up, Tyler.
Yeah, like I said, it's not that this is a bad song. It's got a great premise in the lyrics. It's got really good riffs.
I like it. It's
not
maybe
as good.
not my favorite so far, but, like, it's still a good song.
Like I said, after we get through with this podcast, wait a few days, and then plug your headphones in and listen to this whole thing again. Really
All right.
soak it in.
All right. Soak it in. Marinate all the juices
Yep, marinate yourself in the Gojira juice.
in the bloodbath of Gojira.
The next song is The Silver Chord, which, despite being an instrumental, still has a theme. Because this is Gojira.
What's the theme?
Well, a silver chord refers to a concept in metaphysics where basically the physical body is linked to the soul by an umbilical type linkage.
Jesus Christ, I was not expecting Tool level, like, pretentiousness.
And keep in mind, this is less pretentious than their other records. So,
No, guys, this instrumental really means a lot. The
funny thing is that
the drums represent the pitter patter of acid rain.
the funny thing is that the last song was about the soul, and the next song is about the body. So it's kind of a joke. It's kind of clever. Oh man, it is a nice little reprise.
It's a nice little interlude. This is almost like an intermission, I think.
Pretty much. Gojira's like, I've been smashing your face in with a hammer for the last, 20, 30 minutes. I'm going to let you take a little break. And then I'm going to smash you with a sledgehammer.
Is it me, or does this kind of sound like this almost sounds like hold music.
Like what?
Hold music. Like when you're like on the phone and you're waiting for someone.
Maybe a little more dissonant than that usually is. But yeah, a little bit. I said maybe a little bit more dissonant than that usually is, but maybe a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like background music.
Like the guitars aren't even that distorted.
No, it's very clean.
Yeah. Like as far as the extreme metal bands I've listened to, this is relatively clean mix.
Yeah, but it is gigantic. Like the sound is just huge. I want to do that with our album if we ever get one made.
You know what this is? This is almost like extreme arena rock.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Alrighty. Now we go into one of my favorite songs on the album.
Anybody who thinks that like Gojira is an extreme metal, I would say extreme arena rock.
So this song is about life.
This song is called All the Tears, by the way.
The song is once again a story. It starts from the birth of someone, it goes through their entire life and ends with their death.
Whoa, what the hell are these drums? This is some shit on Ritalin right here.
The drumming in this record is fantastic.
Agreed.
I mean, everything is. The bass, the drums, the guitar, everything. The vocals. Any Lipton tea fans out there? Yeah, I know I'm a basic bitch.
I'm sorry?
Just showing off my tea.
So what is this song about? It almost sounds like it's like about natural disasters or something.
Well, what I was saying earlier, it's about somebody. It's about a life. It starts with someone being born, and it goes through their entire life and ends with them dying.
Oh. Like, I didn't know if, like, the whole, like, imagery of, like, the wind or anything like that was metaphoric. Now it is, yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to really interpret where, like, what age frame they are at any point in the song. But...
Well, except the part where they say they're 3 days old.
And the end where it goes, where I go, I won't be crying, I die.
I dead.
I dead now. Those are
Welcome
going to
to
be my
die.
last words. I
Welcome
want
to
that written on
die.
my grave. I dead now.
Like I said, this is the first time me reading the lyrics, anything like that. So like my interpretation of the lyrics is, if I have one, is probably total bullshit.
I mean, music is whatever you interpret it to be. Like, I'm just reading off of what Genius says it is. All right, you ready for the heaviest song on the album?
Yep.
Yep, and the main character just died in the song.
I just read the title of the next song. I wonder what this is about.
Well, honestly, I couldn't tell you, but my best guess is it continues the theme of humankind just caring for nothing. Not
Yeah.
itself, not its environment, not other life on the planet, nothing.
This song is called Abortion for None.
Adoration for none.
Oh, aberration. Okay. I read it as abortion. I'm sorry. To be fair, this does sound like a screaming aborted fetus. Wait,
This
aborted
is
fetuses can't scream.
this is the one with the Lamb of God vocalist. You can tell the difference. This is Gojira's vocalist. And now Randy Blythe. I love hearing Randy do his screams over Gojira riffs. I could listen to it all day. Because I actually am a Lamb of God fan, by the way. Love Lamb of God. Very excited for their new album. Which is another we'll probably cover on the podcast just because I love torturing Logan.
Lamb of God. More like Lamb of Fraud. Am I right?
Hell yeah, you know it. Come on, listen to that. That's a fucking amazing riff.
The vocalist for Gojira is apparently named Joe Diplanti.
I think it's supposed to be Duplantier because he's French.
Okay. The hell? This is like some Dick Dale shit right here.
Yeah, I love the tremolo picking.
Yeah. This is like Quentin Tarantino if he did all the drugs at once.
Just every single drug that there is. Caffeine, coke, heroin, shrooms, acid, LSD, all of it. All at once.
Like, no, like even like Tylenol. Just...
He takes every single medication ever made.
And some placebos.
Oh, yeah. You gotta have a placebo here and there just so you know.
Just to
which
balance it
thousand
out, you know?
medicines, do what? So on a completely unmetal note, do you watch Fuller House?
What? Why the hell would I watch Fuller House?
My girlfriend's been making me watch it, and I actually think it's kind of funny.
No,
Does that
I would
make
not.
me the norm?
I'm not watching Fuller House. My girlfriend watches that too. I would love to live in a world where Full House or Fuller House does not exist.
I didn't think I'd really like it either, but honestly, it has made me laugh. It can be funny. And I usually don't say that.
You probably laughed at 9/11, so I mean, that doesn't really say much.
Oh, shit. Well, it was comedy gold. You know. fuck? Another great thing about Gojira is the pick scrapes. Wow.
I don't know, man. The thing about 9/11, I think it really bombed, you know?
I think those planes were just on fire, dude. Like, they were just on track.
Well, you know, agree to disagree. Like, even this heaviest song on the album, it, like, takes breaks. This is, like, really progressive.
Yeah. It does give you time to, like, let everything sink in, which is good because, you know...
I'll say this, in my personal opinion, like I said, this isn't really my thing, but objectively, this is a really good album.
Yeah, you know, I was watching some reviews of it before I did this podcast, and honestly, I think it's better than most of the critics I've heard talking about it make it out to be.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are comparing it to Slipknot, so, I mean, that's already pretty good,
Depending on who you talk to, anyway.
Coverage. Huh?
Depending on who you talk to, anyway.
I guess.
A lot of people really think Slipknot is just terrible.
Well, I mean, like, at least in that community, a lot of people seem to like them.
Yeah. Pitchfork reviewed this album. I didn't see that.
What did they give it?
6.0. Hey, they did better.
Wow! I mean, to be fair, I don't think I'd give it much higher, but, like, that's just my opinion as somebody who doesn't listen to a lot of this kind of extreme arena rock, whatever you want to call it.
Damn. Gojira are like Democratic presidential candidates. Policy wonks who are smart but stiff. That's the opening sentence of the article.
Can we just burn Pitchfork? Like, I know I'm not the only one who thinks that. Everybody hates Pitchfork. Why are they still around?
I have no idea.
Like, I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for them to say something like anti-Semitic or something like that, and then just be, like, booted off the face of the earth.
How about this one? The band's ecological fetish somehow seems appropriate for its French origins.
What the fuck? The fuck kind of shit is that?
Pitchfork, you guys.
Man, if we didn't save your ass in World War II, y'all be speaking German.
Oh, here we go. This is another fan favorite, The Art of Dying. Because there really is an art to dying, you know? Oh, yeah, I love the rhythm in this song.
Yeah.
Come on, you can't move to that. So, you wanna guess what this song's about? I'll give you one hint.
Death?
Correct.
Oh, that was pretty...
I was gonna say not life.
Oh. Not life. Choice?
So this song is actually about a dying man and basically his dying ruminations.
Did Pitchfork really just say, I'm sorry, I can't get over what? Hey guys, they're French, am I right?
They're French,
of course they care about the environment. They're all probably in those fancy dancy Priuses, am I right?
I love Pitchfork. We should just have a show on this fucking channel where we just read a Pitchfork article and shit on it.
I'm down with that.
It's a gold mine.
We can call it Pitch Stork.
Pitch Stork.
Pitch Stork, there we go.
Pitch Spork.
Pitch Spork. There we go. Pitch Sporky.
Oh, God. This song just makes me want to make that face. Logan, you should try to make that face.
I'm not looking at you, sorry.
Make that face. Close enough.
Hello. Rock and roll. Yeah, really good lyrics. Like, everything about this band is objectively perfect. Or at least objectively good.
Yeah. You can hear so many influences too. Like you can hear Sabbath, you can hear Rush, you can hear all
Tool.
kinds of. Yeah, I mean you can hear a bit of Tool influence in there, I'm sure as well. I don't really hear that as much, but
I mean, neither one are bands. I mean, like, I'm not as big a fan of Tool as I maybe should be. I actually, when I was writing for this independent record label, I wrote an article, and half of it. Here's an interesting story. I was writing for an independent record label. I'm not going to mention names in case, like, for some reason they don't want the exposure. And I wrote this article, and we had this conversation about Tool, and I inadvertently made half the album just like a miniature review of Tool's newest album. And I sent it to the publisher, and they were like, yeah, we like that, but you might want to tone it down a little bit on the Tool.
was that this? I'll text it to you because I don't want to mention the band name just in case.
I can't remember what their name was.
Here, I'm sending you the band I think you're talking about. Was it these guys?
Topsy-turvy. I don't think it's that one, but I did do a review on them.
Oh, I know.
I don't
always thought
know
that
if
was
it was
funny.
that one. I can't remember.
Because you were a fan of that band before you did an article on them.
Well, no, I can't remember. Honestly, like, it happened, like, I haven't done work for these people in a while. So, like, a lot of these kind of indie bands, they were like bands straight out of like Washington D.C. and Maryland. Not where I live, by the way, just happens to be where this publication's based out of. So like I can't remember which article was which, but it could be them. Again, I just have to say how genius this band is.
I love this riff too.
This song is like relatively long as compared to.
Yeah, and that's mostly because of the intro.
Yeah.
Such a catchy riff.
Yeah.
They'll win you over.
I mean, it kind of already has. Like, I don't. Like, I look at bands in two different categories. Are they good? And would I ever listen to this again willingly? And so far, I would say these guys are really, really good, and I enjoy, and I don't regret listening to them. I don't know if I would willingly listen to them again. I mean, I will, obviously, for the next podcast, but like, just this kind of music isn't the kind of music I typically listen to.
Shit. My phone shut off on me. I'm running blind, peeps.
That is such a killer riff.
Yeah. Honestly, the only criticism I have of that song is this ending riff might go on for a little longer.
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
It goes on for like
it's
2
good,
minutes.
but like, but a lot of bands kind of have that problem of like they don't know when to end a song. I mean,
Yeah, in this song it kind of just fades out.
Like, we were mentioning Rush. They almost like invented that itis, you know? All right, this song is called Esoteric Surgery.
No, we're still on The Art of Dying right now.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, this
Just
is like a outro.
Oh my god, this song, like, I love this song, but just die. I'm kidding.
I do kind of like this little outro thing. You know what it reminds me of?
What?
It reminds me of that music that like YouTubers used to put in the end of their videos for horror games. You know, when they were like, subscribe to my channel and here's all the other ones, and they would have this music playing in the background right now. The funny thing is, do you know what PewDiePie is doing now? He does like meme reviews.
How do you review a meme exactly?
Meme review.
How do you? What
Ask
is
PewDiePie.
it like? Huh?
I said, ask PewDiePie. He's been doing it for like 2 years, 3 years.
I haven't seen PewDiePie since like since like I was with my ex-girlfriend, which was maybe about 4 years ago.
This is a
And
really
like
good
back
song
then,
also.
he was still kind of doing Let's Plays and also doing some stuff with his girlfriend, or might be wife now. I don't know.
Yeah, he doesn't really do Let's Plays anymore. He doesn't really do gaming at all.
Yeah. It was like mostly just kind of reacting to things on the internet and stuff, and like challenges and stuff with his girlfriend. Yeah, so this is esoteric surgery.
Which
so
is another song that's about the rebirth of the soul. Philosophical shit.
See, now I know why you come over this album, Tyler.
I don't know necessarily if it has much to do with, you know, Plato's idea of the soul or Socrates' idea of the soul, but I like to think that it does.
Okay, babe.
Because, like, the Aristotelian idea of a soul or the Plato idea of a soul isn't a physical thing that is inside of you. It's a metaphorical thing that exists, if that makes sense. Like, a lot of Christians believe in a physical soul, something that physically exists and will live on after your body, and you will then go to heaven or hell.
They make good boom music.
Yeah, Plato didn't believe in that. Plato believed in a more metaphorical soul, which he explained consciousness by using that idea. But yeah. Philosophy students, get on that.
He
I'm
is
reading
going
Nietzsche
to
right
blossom into a special kind of douchebag.
I'm literally majoring in philosophy, so
Exactly.
I'm reading The Genealogy of Morals by Nietzsche right now. You know,
Might as
God
well
is
get a
dead,
degree in
that
gender
guy.
studies at that point.
Oh, come on. Oh.
You'll
You hurt
probably
my
get about it.
soul.
Hell, you'll probably get further in gender studies,
I will have
like
you
as far
know,
as a career path.
philosophy has way more applications than gender studies.
In the modern world, I don't know about that.
Actually, there's a lot more application to it than you might think. It doesn't really do much on its own, but when you pair it with literally anything
Yeah,
else, you are
exactly.
instantly
Like it's
way
one
more
of those
valuable.
things you minor in.
No, if you double major in it. I mean, you minor in it, that's good, but double majoring, it can add an extra 20K onto your salary just like that, or more. Especially if you major in philosophy and then you go into the medical industry, you can get a seat on like the ethics chair, the ethics committee, blah. That they make mean money for just sitting around and talking about like whether or not we should do this or not.
Philosophization.
That is not a word.
It is now.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you about whether or not Gojira actually believe in a physical soul, but I don't. I don't know about Logan. I'm not a very spiritual person. I know we're both atheists, but you can be an atheist and be spiritual. I know many people like that.
I'm not. I do know a lot. Well, I know a lot of like even Christians who believe in like a metaphorical soul, almost like kind of like kind of like this idea of like their idea of heaven and hell is the impact you leave on earth after you die.
Right. That's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah. So
I
like it's
know.
sort of like it's kind of like the people who are like don't believe in the Bible. Well, no Christian believes in the Bible 100%. If they followed it 100%, that's quite literally illegal. But like even but like kind of like the spiritual Christians, you know, like they kind of believe in sort of like a heaven and hell on earth, and your soul is kind of like your destiny after your death, sort of.
Yeah, I know a lot of Christians that don't believe in like a physical devil or a physical God. They
Yeah.
more think about it as like a morality thing.
Yeah, and I respect whatever people believe. You know, this is my
There's certain beliefs I
moral
don't
compass
respect.
is do whatever you want, just as long as you don't hurt me, my friends, or my family, or my
My
girlfriend, obviously.
idea
But
is Iris. Oh, I love this song, by the way. I love the groove.
this song is called Vacuity.
Yeah. The groove of this song reminds me a lot of Walk by Pantera, but with a more, odd time signature
Yeah,
groove to it.
I can see that.
But anyway,
I mean,
my
there's so
basic,
many songs that kind of sound like this, but like I can see how Walk would come to your mind.
yeah. So my basic idea when it comes to respecting people's beliefs are you can believe what you want, but I don't have to respect what you believe. And whether or not I respect what you believe comes down to whether or not what you believe is backed up by something.
I mean, there's kind of like this difference between respect and tolerance.
Yeah,
Like I tolerate other people, and I respect them if they respect me. Like you can believe whatever you want, and I might not necessarily agree with what you believe in, but I at least believe that as long as you have the mental ability to argue what you believe and do so in a civil manner, then we'll get along. or even if you don't want to, like, you know, as long as you're a nice person and you're not going to you're not going to have a lack of respect in what I believe in. Like, I think that's how
Yeah.
most people believe, fortunately.
Yeah, you know, it really surprised me when I got out to the quote-unquote real world and made friends with people who are Hindu, people who are Muslim, people who are Christian, Catholic, and we all got along, even though I'm an atheist, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think most people, especially nowadays, like, I think I read a study a couple of years ago saying that, what is it, white evangelical Christians are in the minority.
I think the world is becoming more and more secular every day, and within the next 100 to 500 years, religion is either going to be completely eliminated or mostly eliminated. Most people are going to be atheistic by then, I would say. I don't think religion's ever going to be completely 100% gone, but most people will probably be atheistic. Because as technology develops and science goes further and further, there's less reasonable, logical rationalizations for believing in God.
Well, I think that while maybe religion and a deity may go away at some point, I don't think religion in and of itself is ever going to go away. I think that,
Depends on your definition of it.
huh?
I said it depends on your definition of religion. Like, something like Buddhism doesn't have a god. It's not a theistic religion, but
Well, I think
it's still
a
considered a
religion is
religion.
sort of, I see religion as sort of like a point of worship. And
Yeah, that's what I would
think
say.
that, like, for example, Russia during the Stalin era and just the USSR in general, they were majority atheists, but they still had, in my opinion, what I would call a religion, and that is a worship of the government. I think we are becoming more and more secular, but also trading in that belief in a higher deity, a higher divine power, and trading that in for a worship of the government.
I don't know. I feel like
The government
most
or
people, at
capitalism
least in
or
American
more
society, are
tangible real
extremely
world
skeptical
ideas
of
like that.
American governments. Yeah.
And I
I
think that's
think
where we're headed. I think we're
some
headed
people have
towards.
said, like, we're headed towards what?
Oh, I thought you were talking, sorry. I think we are headed towards sort of a worship of the government. And we're kind of seeing that starting in the fringes with, like, Trump supporters. But, you know, if we went back 4 years ago to Obama, we saw it with them as well. It happens with whoever's in power. But
to some degree, yeah.
Yeah, to some degree, yeah. But I think over time we're going to have a stronger and stronger worship of the government, and we will trade in theism for either atheism or agnosticism, but replacing that with a worship of the government or of the economy or real world tangible ideas like that.
Yeah, some people have said that where we're moving is more into a religion of science. I don't really agree with that standpoint.
I don't necessarily agree with that either, because, like, I think a religion. This song, by the way, is called "Wolf Down the Earth."
It's probably my least favorite song on the record.
Yeah. I would not say that, because I think that worship sort of implies a level of undying faith. And, like, yeah, like, there are Christians who worship God but also ask questions about the Bible and don't believe everything it says. But I'm saying, like, if you worship somebody, like, it would be less worshiping science and more worshiping, say, Albert Einstein or Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
or in the government's case, kind of changing who you believe in depending on who's in charge. So if you're American, and you sort of worship the government, you have a religion centered around the government, you are worshiping Donald Trump. Or if you're a Democrat, you're worshiping, and like I say that as like there's a difference between like supporting somebody and worshiping somebody. Supporting them is supporting them, but not necessarily agreeing with them 100%. Most people support a candidate.
Yeah.
Or an idea. Like
worship is like
Most
unconditional.
most people support capitalism or socialism or communism or whatever.
Yeah, but someone
there's
who
people,
worships Donald Trump would be like, even if Donald Trump committed murder, he's still like a perfect.
Yeah, if Donald Trump literally did, what was the quote? Really did shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, and people still supported him, that, in my opinion, would constitute worship.
Yeah, same.
This song isn't bad, but it is a little bit weaker.
Yeah, because it's kind of just more of the same. It's kind of the textbook definition of a filler track.
Yeah.
And granted, it's a filler track of something that's already of extreme quality, so I don't know how much I can complain, but if I were trying to criticize the album, that's where I'd go. Anyway, one of the reasons I wouldn't agree with saying science is a religion, or even that we're worshiping scientists, is because one of the key tenets of science is that everything is subject to change as new information is coming in. I mean, practically everything Darwin ever wrote in the fucking, Origin of Life has been proven wrong. We built upon his ideas, but he was wrong about so many things.
Yeah,
so
and also, like, the difference between, science is such a broad thing in and of itself. Saying, like, science is a religion is like saying buildings are a religion. Like, you worship...
Well, I'm not talking
about, like, churches and mosques and things like that. I'm talking about, like, brick and mortar, or not even brick and mortar, like, every kind of structure. Like, because there's, like, astroscience, physical science, political science.
I'd say a more apt comparison would be, instead of worshiping the buildings themselves, you're worshiping, say, architecture.
Yeah. Whereas, like, architecture is such a broad thing.
Exactly.
Like, does architecture mean buildings? Does it mean statues? Does it mean, building an iPhone could technically be considered architecture? But, no, like, the difference between, like, worshiping a religion and worshiping science is, even if you are agnostic to a religion, but, like, still primarily believe in, like, a higher power, whether it be God or Allah or, the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, whatever, they still have a set of guidelines that... this song is called... this is the title track, The Way of All Flesh.
This is the last song on the album. It's 17 minutes.
Sorry if I'm rambling, or sorry if we're rambling.
Well, that's kind of the point of a podcast, isn't it?
Yeah. But, I mean,
I guess we're on the outro part of...
Tyler, we don't want to become the first boring podcast.
Oh, God.
No, but, like, for example, one of the key differences between Islam and Christianity, one of the most well-known, is don't eat pork. Their religion, at least at its most fundamentalist state,
For the record, we're now
forbids
on the title
people-
track.
Yeah. Forbids people from eating pork, as opposed to science, which doesn't really have an ideology, because again, it's so unbelievably broad. But even if you get into a specific kind of science, like we're talking about astrophysics or something like that, like you said, that's always changing.
Yeah.
Like astronomy, if you believe, if you quote unquote worshipped astronomy 500 years ago, then the popular consensus was that, the sun evolved around the earth and all kinds of crazy things.
Oh, shit. I'm getting tired. It's about 11 o'clock at night where we're recording.
Yeah. Oh, God, that means my echo's going to go off.
Oh, no.
This is a good closer.
Yeah, it's a nice long track, which is normal for a band like this. I mean, you think Dream Theater, Rush, they all have their 15-minute tracks at the end of the album.
Oh my God, this is 15 minutes.
17.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah, it's the longest song on the album by far.
And honestly, it is automatically my least favorite. I like this album, I just don't want to listen to 17 minutes of one song from it.
Honestly, though, when it comes to this song, there's so much versatility in it that you could probably split it up into 2 different tracks or even 3.
Fair enough.
If you wanted. We're already in a different movement of the song.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I think
to be fair, some
engaging.
I'm not contrary to what I just said, I'm not necessarily against long songs on principle. It's just does a song drag or not? 2-minute songs can drag.
Yeah. It's easier for a 15-minute song to drag than it is for a 2-minute song to drag.
Yeah, but
because,
yeah, but it's also possible for a 30-minute song to not drag.
Yeah.
If you have enough variety crammed in that 30-minute song.
So, one of my favorite songs of all time is Change of Seasons by Dream Theater, which was never on an actual album, by the way. It was on an EP. But it's like a 24-minute song or something like that. It's long.
Okay, if it's 24 minutes, then it's not an EP, hon.
Well, there's more on the EP than that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. 24 minutes plus other songs is an
It's
album.
all live tracks, though.
Oh, okay.
Either way, it's fucking amazing because it has a multitude of movements to it. It's not just... It feels like an actual composition. Like a classical symphony or something along those lines.
I mean, like I said, I don't really listen to Nightwish, but that's kind
Dream
of...
Theater.
Well, I know, but I was talking about Nightwish.
Oh, I thought you misunderstood me and thought I was talking about Nightwish.
I didn't. But Nightwish is kind of famous for doing things like that as well. Kind of structuring their songs less like a traditional rock or metal song and structuring it like a classical piece. Like I said, Florence, what's her name?
Flora Jansen.
Flora Jansen.
Or Jansen or whatever.
Jensen? I can't remember.
I have no idea how to pronounce it.
Well, you probably wrote it down somewhere, so I mean.
It's spelled Jansen. I have no idea how you pronounce it.
That would probably be Jansen. That would probably be Jansen then.
I don't know.
Unless it's pronounced differently in the Netherlands.
Well, yeah, that's why I said I don't know. It could be Jansen. It could be Jensen. I have no idea. Hansen.
Hansen.
Hansen versus Predator.
What the hell?
Anyway, you were saying about Nightwish?
Alien Ant Farm versus Predator.
Oh, Alien Ant Farm are predators. Oh! That's why they covered Jackson.
Oh, Jackson. That's topical.
Now. What's your take on that? Do you think Michael Jackson was an actual predator?
No.
I don't either.
I mean,
I
there's a
think so.
lot. There's a lot to like get into on that, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't want to get into like a huge tangent on it, but yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, honestly, it's irrelevant now that he's dead. It's not like even
Yeah.
if he was, we could do anything about it.
I mean, it's still going after him. They have that HBO show a couple years back.
Yeah. Oh man. And I'm actually in a music history class right now, so I'm learning about every different era from, the Middle Ages to the Romantics. And it's interesting to see the evolution of composition. Because in the day of like Bach and Mozart, they used to. Okay, all right, before I go on this tangent, why do you hate pop music? Just on principle, why do you dislike it?
Why do I hate pop music?
On principle.
I don't.
All right, better question. Why do you hate the Foo Fighters? On principle.
They just sound generic.
You're not giving me the right answer. Because they sold out. Pop music is a product. All of the music created in that genre is meant to be sold. It's not meant to be art. Well, back in the day of Mozart and Bach, that's how music was just made. Everything was a product to be sold, like candy or, woodworking.
I mean,
it wasn't viewed as art.
like, it still is. I mean, obviously, like, Slipknot would not be doing what they're doing if literally nobody bought tickets.
I mean, you're right, but
like they would all be
working.
They would all be working day jobs.
It's a difference of viewpoint, I think. Like, if you go into making music saying, "Oh, I'm going to make this,"
the album is over, by the way.
No, it isn't. It is not.
What the? There's still like half of an album, or still half of a song left.
Yeah, it's just taking a little pause. It's taking a little pause. It'll come back. Don't worry.
Okay.
Anyway, what was I saying? Right.
That is like the most epic troll ever, though.
I know, right? No, it's a difference in viewpoint. Like, if you go into making an album with the idea, I'm gonna sell a lot of records and make money. This is not art. It's a product. Then it's not art. But what many people do, Slipknot included, is they go into it viewing it as art, and then making money is just kind of a byproduct of that. Well, it allows them to continue making art.
Well, the best example of that is Metallica, because they were kind of in both camps.
Right. They started off more on the first.
They started off making art, and then towards the end of the '90s, they started, or at least like after the Black Album, so like early '90s to like late 2000. No, probably to now. Maybe less so now, but like to some degree, like they kind of saw themselves as a brand. Like they saw themselves in the same way as like Sony or Kleenex. Like they saw themselves as a commodity, and that's why many people would argue they went downhill.
Yeah. Well, I think going back to what I was saying earlier, Bach and Mozart viewed their music as a product. It was like woodworking to them. It wasn't art. Yeah. It was just something to be sold, and they made it just like anyone makes, a spoon. But when you come to the era of the Romantics, Beethoven, Chopin, they start to view music as a higher art form, something like literature or paintings. And I think it's interesting to compare the two.
Wasn't Mozart in the Romantic period?
No.
I thought, okay, never mind. I thought he was. It's been a very long time since I've looked at.
I forgot how long of a pause this was in the song. I thought it was only like 30 seconds, but it's been like a minute. It does come back, right?
They really want to assault us, like on the surprise.
I know it comes back into something. I don't know why it's.
Yeah, but like I know there's like Baroque and Romantic, and then what's the one after Romantic, where like a whole bunch of people were there, and like
I don't know. We're on the Romantic era right now.
Postmodern or something like that. I don't know.
Either way, it's interesting to compare the two mindsets, because in the modern day, you have pop music representing that Bach Mozart mindset of, oh, it's just a product to be sold. And you have bands like Gojira representing the more Beethoven-esque mindset of, oh, it's actually a higher art form. You know, it's,
Well, I
I
mean,
have a message.
like at its root too, like art is a commodity as well. Like like part of the reason Picasso is so well known is because his paintings go for insane amounts of money.
Yeah.
Alexa, stop. Alexa. Alexa, stop. I told you. What were we talking about?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I decided to just skip ahead, and I'm remembering that, like, the rest of this album is kind of just like an atmospheric outro track.
Oh, okay.
So, like, for all intents and purposes, the album is over now.
Okay, then. All right, so should we just, like, start rating it while the
Yeah, I mean,
atmospheric thing?
I would.
All right. Um, so I'm going to give it, objectively speaking, a 9 out of 10. Maybe a 9.5 out of 10.
Objectively speaking.
Objectively speaking, because the only thing that's wrong with it is that it drags in some areas, and that's an easy mistake to make. Like, that's an easy, like, if this didn't drag in certain areas, this would be a 10 out of 10 album, because it doesn't really do anything wrong. It's like the creme de la creme of its field.
Yeah, I agree to that. I'd say it might drag a little bit, mostly because of songs like Yama's Messengers and Wolf Down the Earth, which aren't really like standout tracks and probably could have just been cut, and you wouldn't have missed much, you know?
So what would you give it?
So, like, despite being filler tracks, those songs are still really fucking good. So, I'd say I'd lean more along a 9.5, maybe even a 10 out of 10. Because in my view, a 10 out of 10 album isn't perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect album. It's just as close to perfect as you can
Now it's getting
reasonably
to the
expect
atmospheric
someone to
part.
get.
Now it's getting to the
Oh, it
atmospheric
is for
part.
you.
Sorry for interrupting.
I might have been like a little bit behind you when I rewinded then, because
Yeah.
I'm not at it yet.
Anyway, yeah, but I would. Well, I think that. I think that a 10 out of 10 album is at least perfect in my objective opinion. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, like I said, like, I love this album. I love the fact that I listened to it. I love the fact that you made me listen to it. I love the fact that it exists. I think it's pushing an industry forward by continuing to exist. There's a lot of people, like you said, who are influenced by this music. That's good. I think that type of music is music that should be influential and that is a positive influence on music. But like, I would not listen to it again willingly.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's fair. I mean, other than the listen again to soak it in for the next podcast. But yeah.
Apart from that, I'm saying, like, in my own free time, apart from this podcast, I would probably not listen to this again. I will say the one song, though, I might.
What was that? A Sight to Behold?
Yes.
That is a good song. It's a really good song. I mean, this is exactly the type of music that I love to listen to. It's stuff that pushes the industry forward. Unlike Logan, I don't really have a bar when it comes to something that's heavy or soft. If it's something that I feel is unique or extraordinary in some way, stands out to me, I'm going to listen to it. And in the case of Gojira, there is just nothing that has ever come out that sounds remotely like Gojira. So I think I am going to stretch and give it a 10 out of 10 based on that merit.
That's really compelling. I think maybe if I listen to this album again, it might go up to a 10 out of 10, or maybe at least like a 9.5. But as of right now, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I am glad we were able to cover it on the podcast either way. I think it was a lot of fun, and the one person who watches along will probably agree with me on that one.
Yeah. Hi, one person. How's it out there
Hi,
in
what's up?
Arizona, Tucky?
Arizona, Tucky. No, you know they're in France because only French people care about the environment.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
What the fuck?
French people, all they care about is environment and surrender and baguettes and macaroni.
And baguettes.
Smoking and Wes Anderson.
Oh, God. All right, well, do you want to wrap it up, or do you have anything else to say?
I don't want to wrap it up yet because I'm still on the atmospheric portion.
Oh, okay, so you just want to, like, fuck around for, like, 4 minutes?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't understand why this is here. Honestly, you should just cut this part.
Wait.
I mean, the only reason
probably,
I'm not docking points for it is because...
Just it's probably just a hidden track.
Maybe.
It's like what My Chemical Romance did. It's just, like, not another track.
Yeah.
Like, they assume, people would have... They assume, like, everyone, unless, like, the diehard... Except, like, the diehard fans...
Would have turned it off by now.
Switched it off before this point, because there's, like, how long of silence.
Yeah. I wonder if that's actually true. Like, on the record, they didn't, like, expect them to put this on Spotify.
Well, I mean, this is 2008. Streaming music wasn't necessarily the wave of the future. Or, I mean, it was, but, like, it wasn't, like... I mean, like, they had, like, Groove Shark and things like that. Remember Groove Shark?
Yeah. You remember LimeWire?
I didn't use LimeWire. I used Cabos, which was, like, the old Mac PowerPC version of LimeWire. It was basically the same thing. You could download songs, you could download music.
Well, now it is actually over on my end.
Yeah, it's over on my end too. But it was like, you could download songs, you could download movies, videos, TV shows, pictures, documents. Half the time you would get like some advertisement to like a porn site or something like that, and my dad would be like, "We are not going to listen to that." Because I was like 4 years old. It was like, well, I don't know if it was necessarily porn. It was like something obviously shady because they had to disguise it as a song.
When I was young, so we had LimeWire, and as you might know, it eventually changed to FrostWire.
I don't think it exists anymore.
I don't know if it does or doesn't, but my parents had to listen to like every single song that I downloaded to make sure it was appropriate for me. And go to this website. And I don't remember what website it was, but it was obviously an illegal streaming website because I was able to listen to music on the website. I didn't have to download it. And I thought it was such a badass because I listened to like Green Day songs that said shit in them.
This was like before YouTube?
I listened to like Buck Cherry. Yeah, well, I mean, I think YouTube was around, but I wasn't able to access it. My parents pretty much blocked it.
You know what? It could have been Groove Shark because, like, that's basically Groove Shark was like the Spotify before Spotify existed, and it was taken down like 5 or 10 years ago because, like, it basically turned out they didn't have the license to stream any of the shit they were doing. So, like, they, like, I don't know, some record label or a collaboration of record labels eventually took them down. So you can't use Groove Shark anymore. But, I mean, like, if it weren't for Groove Shark, we wouldn't have things like Spotify.
Yeah. Oh, and also Whatever by Godsmack was another one of those songs.
or no, maybe they did have... I think they might have had the rights, but, like... I don't know. They might have just like ran out of money because people just stopped using it because
Possible.
around the time that it closed down, there was Spotify and all of
Why
these
do people
other
use
sites
Pandora?
and
Why do people use
Pandora,
Pandora? That's a
Deezer,
serious question.
like oh, how many people use Pandora? A lot.
No, why do people use Pandora? Why? Spotify is
Um,
better in every single way.
I mean, I don't know. I think because I know a lot of people who use Pandora. My dad included. He used to use Pandora all the time. I think they just don't
Well, yeah,
know
I
that
used to use it
Spotify.
too, but
I think that people just don't know that Spotify does the same thing that Pandora does, but has a different means of an algorithm. And then like
yeah,
same
I
thing with like
guess.
Apple Music and like Pandora is mostly obsolete, I think.
Yeah, I think Spotify is just king of the hill. There's no one that stands up to Spotify as far as streaming's concerned.
Well, I
That
think
I've
I think Apple Music is a good competition, but I
still think
personally
Spotify's better.
yeah, I still think Spotify is better too, but I think like Apple Music is still at least a good competition.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the things I love about Spotify that Apple Music and Pandora don't do as well is how the algorithm works.
I
Spotify,
agree.
without fail, has found so many bands for me based on like what I listen to. It's so good about it,
Well,
and especially at the wraps that they do at the end of the year,
Apple
they
Music kind of
provide
does
like
that
several
too.
playlists where it's like here's stuff you don't listen to, and but it's not as good, at least from what I've used of it.
Yeah.
I feel like I have way more success, and I think Spotify is way more accurate than Apple is for whatever reason, and Pandora as well does something similar, but again for whatever reason. And another thing is you can go on like song radios. So if you like
Yeah.
really a song really sits with you, like I don't know whatever from Godsmack, you press go to song radio and it'll find like 50 songs that are around the same range.
Well,
And if you don't
here's the
already know
thing.
every song on the playlist, you'll find something you like almost guaranteed.
Well, here's the thing. Like Pandora, like Apple Music does the same thing that Pandora and Spotify does. At least in terms of that. But like Pandora or not Pandora. Apple Music and Spotify are just like streaming services where you can stream whatever you want, but they have the features that Pandora has built in. So it's sort of like it's sort of like like a smartphone. Like you used to have a dedicated device for taking phone calls and organizing, and now all of that is like all together. Like you have a phone and a PDA and a video game console and a whole bunch of other things all in one device. That's Spotify. But I would not necessarily say it's a better algorithm. It's more of a personal preference thing. If you're like a casual music listener, I would say Apple Music and Pandora are better in terms of algorithm because when I listen to Apple Music, like if I pick like Breaking the Law by Judas Priest Radio, I'm probably going to get like on Apple Music like Iron Maiden, Journey, Guns N' Roses, things like that. Whereas if I go and do the same thing, I might get something like Haunt or Witchfinder General or like not that Haunt is an obscure band, but it's more obscure than Guns N' Roses, you know what I mean? Or Metallica.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I like about Spotify is it really
That's a
finds stuff
personal
that's more
preference.
similar.
For
Yeah.
people who listen to hardcore music, for people who listen to a lot of music, like us, that's a good thing. But if for somebody who's like, oh, I like that "Hey Ho, Let's Go" song by the Ramones, Apple
That's my
Music is good for
girlfriend.
them. Yeah.
That's my fucking girlfriend.
Anyway, I think we're going to wrap this up.
Yeah, I think it's getting about that time.
Have any final remarks about the album or in general?
No, I just want to say to anyone who for some reason hasn't listened to the rest of Gojira's discography yet, check that shit out because it's just as good as this album was.
Like, what
If you
other
liked
album
it.
would you recommend?
From Mars to Sirius immediately. Magma, also, it's a bit of a departure. L'Enfant Sauvage is more heavy. I wouldn't go back to Terra Incognito and The Link. I don't really like those albums.
All right.
They're not
Well,
as good.
anyway. Yeah. So anyway. Bye, y'all.
See ya.
Peace.